as always, I tend to start with, the end goal and how it's so important for us to keep in mind really what we're trying to do with all of this. So with that end result, for individuals or businesses thinking about long-term planning, what does a great financial and tax situation look like? What defines excellent financial and tax health? So and I say that because we want to understand what we're trying to get to. We're not just trying to do this to keep busy. What are we trying to get to? What does that look like? Why don't we start with you, Adam?
Well, I don't want to get too philosophical and get too deep on that right away, but I think, and it might sound kind of cliche if you've heard it before, but Stephen Covey always said, begin with the end in mind, and it's a great book. I'm a big book geek, so highly recommend that book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but one of his principles is begin with the end in mind. And you should do that both qualitatively as far as quality of life, personally and professionally, but also quantitatively from a financial standpoint. One of the biggest mistakes that I see young optometrists make, and I think we'll talk a little bit about this, we'll hit on this topic periodically as we talk, is what I call lifestyle creep. So typically what young ODs will do is they've been in school for 8 years, maybe they did a residency after that as well, they've been living on student loan checks, maybe mom and dad have helped out in some way, and then you get into private practice where you're now making in 1 month what you were forced to live on for an entire semester.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and I experienced this. My wife's a practicing optometrist, and so we experienced that personally as well, and you get kind of like that reverse sticker shock. So both qualitatively and quantitatively, make sure that you start mapping out important goals that you want to reach, again, personally and professionally, and you can kind of reverse engineer those numbers back to figuring out, at the end of the day, letting your savings habits dictate your spending habits.
Got it.
And in that vein, you got to make sure that you plan for the taxes also. If you're now making in 1 month what you made in 1 year, if you're an independent contractor, perhaps you're not putting away enough to cover the taxes, and then you get even more sticker shock at the end of the year when you get that big tax bill. On the other hand, if you're an employee somewhere, you have to make sure the withholding tax is correct also, so that, again, either you don't owe the government a lot of money at the end of the year, and you don't get a big refund at the end of the year either. Why lend the government money for 0% interest?
Got it. So to distill it down, I guess, what we're saying here is there's both upside potential, and there's also you want to protect your downside risk, and we're going to get into that more.